Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Vulkan, and today Frigg has officially dropped into the game, and we can start pulling for her on the limited banner. So there's a lot of people out there that want Frigg. They want a Frost team, and they want to start building up a different meta than we've seen so far with Nemesis and the Volt team. So what we're going to talk about today are some of the best teams you can build around Frigg. Now, with every tier list, okay, with every tier list that's out there, with every comp list that's out there, this is 100% my opinion, right? You guys are most likely going to have some different characters you want to use, or you might want to swap these in and out. This is just what I've experienced through my testing with Frigg. And once she got added to global, through my testing, these are the teams that I'm going to build around her to take advantage of everything that she brings to the table. So with that being said, please feel free to build the team that you want. This is just to give you an idea of some of the things you can use, as well as alternatives to characters that you might not have considered. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's dive into this one. So first up, we have our core here at the top. That's going to be Frigg, okay? You can't have a Frigg team without Frigg. She brings Frost Resonance, which is just like Volt Resonance. You're going to get a Frost damage buff as well as a Frost resistance buff. Now, in order for that to activate, you have to have 2 Frost weapons. Frigg is obviously one of them, and then the other one is whoever, right? So we're going to keep that in mind as we go through and build out these comps, because you don't want to have Frigg but then not take advantage of her Frost Resonance unless you're going Volt Resonance, which I'm not sure why you would do that. But anyway, so let's keep moving on and let's talk about our preferred DPS team. So for me, we're going to go Meryl and we're going to go Tsubasa. Now, these are in addition to Frigg, so here's kind of your DPS comp right here. So we're going with Meryl because Meryl brings some really heavy-handed shatter and medium damage to the party. She has a Frost element, which will activate Frigg's Frost Resonance, but she does also benefit from Frigg's Fimbulwinter skill, which increases your shatter by 25% for Frost weapons. Now, this is going to push her into a little bit above 17 points of shatter, which I believe with that buff is, it makes her the highest shatter in the game. So she's going to be an absolute unit for smashing shields and busting barriers. So we want to have her on our DPS team to push through those shield phases. Now, if you don't want to use Meryl here for some reason, some people don't like the way she plays, and I totally get that. She's a little bit slower of a play style. You can swap her out for Shiro. Now, Shiro is not going to activate that Frost Resonance, but she is going to bring extra Shatter and her Grievous debuff, especially at 3 stars when Shiro gets a big Shatter increase. But that means we need to have another Frost character in our team in order to activate that Frost Resonance. That's where Tsubasa comes into play. So Tsubasa is a fantastic support unit. At 1 star, she gives an extra damage buff, and then once you reach 3 stars, it becomes even easier to reach max stacks of her damage buff. Now, an alternative for her could also be Shiro. Reason being is her Grievous debuff will apply vulnerability to targets, so you'll get increased damage that way rather than a damage buff existing on your character. So if you want to swap Shiro for one of these, you totally can. Now, for me personally, I like this setup, but truly it comes down to playstyle and what you all want to use. So let's talk about preferred support. So there's a couple different ways we could go here. So one, for support teams, when I think of support, I think of a multifaceted support team. I think of a team that's going to apply damage buffs, I think of a team that's going to heal, and I think of a team that's going to be able to help provide some utility. So there's a couple different ways you can go here. If you want to go a traditional kind of all-around support and you want to sort of be that glue that'll fill in the extra cracks for your team, then you can go with Meryl and you can go with Coco. Both of these are Frost. Meryl's going to bring that same shatter to the party, but then Coco is also going to be able to heal and keep your party topped off. She has a great cast and forget skill. Once you reach her to her 1 star, she unlocks healing drones. These are going to help provide a steady stream of healing for your party, especially for your low health teammates. And with content being more difficult, healing is taking a larger role in parties, so I think this comp is only going to grow in popularity. But let's say you don't want Meryl or Coco. You can throw Nemesis in here as well. So Nemesis does bring a lot of healing, extra damage, things like that to the party. You're not going to get the Volt Resonance there, but in terms of utility that she brings, she's a good fit as well. So truly, I think pick any 2 of these, as long as one of them is Frost, to pair up with Frigg, and you'll be in a really good spot. I really like going Nemesis, Coco, Frigg for a pure healer style role where I can drop Frigg, do Fimbulwinter, do some DPS, and then I can swap to Coco and I can throw out a heal. I can use my healing drones. I can swap to Nemesis to dodge a couple times to get chain heals going. I can use my Electrode to also heal up my party while doing extra damage. So this is just a really solid comp for truly a lot of different ways to support your team. So let's move on to the best solo team. Let me move this up here. Let's move on to the best solo team. So in my mind, the best solo team is going to be Meryl. Again, like we've said this entire video, Meryl is just a great Frosty shield smasher. And the reason that she's so prominently focused is because she's a frost element, she has incredibly high shatter, and she has good damage. And that just pairs extremely well with Frigg, especially since we don't have a ton of frost elements to choose from at this time that would fill that same role. So I know you're probably getting some Meryl fatigue right now, but she is a really good character, especially to pair up with Frigg. So anyway, as you invest into her, she's going to get better. So the more passive she unlocks, the faster she can break shields, but also the stronger her health shield becomes, which does help in solo content because it gives you a little buffer between damage and your health bar. And then for me, I like Nemesis in my solo team. I really do. She has some great utility. She has good healing. She has good damage, but she also brings that slow effect when you dodge and attack at the same time. It's going to put out that slow field. And this really helps because it slows down enemies and it can help you avoid some damage. So overall, I mean, solo play isn't hard out in the world or anything like that, but having these tools at your fingertips is just truly never a bad thing. So in terms of our flex fits, we do have Shiro here. I've talked about her multiple times. She can fill in quite a few different roles. Now, she does take a little bit of investment in order to get her shatter up and in order to really kind of take advantage of her Grievous debuff and damage and all of that stuff. But as you invest into her, she's going to be somebody that you can use to fill in some of those gaps that you might notice. So let's talk about the best SR team. So for those players that are out there that are either just starting or maybe they're, you're free to play and you haven't had great luck for SR or SSRs, but you want to build a team around Frigg. I know a couple people like this. They're like, I'm pulling Frigg, but I have no other SSRs. What do I need to do? Here are some great alternatives. So Ine is going to be your shield smasher, okay? She is a great character for that. I know Hilda has a higher shatter rating, but to me, Ine provides more. Hilda seems to do lower amounts of damage. She's very slow. Her skill roots you, which is not great. Ine, I feel like, pairs up much better with Frigg and Fimbulwinter, especially since she has that damage increase on her skill. And I feel like she just shatters things faster too. So to me, Ine is just the better SR alternative here. So the other one is Bai Ling. So Bai Ling, I feel, is a fantastic alternative to Tsubasa. So reason I say that is because Tsubasa brings that damage buff to the table, right? And we talked about how Shiro brings the Grievous debuff, which will apply vulnerability to targets. Bai Ling does the exact same thing. However, she functions pretty much the same as Tsubasa. So whenever your weapon is charged, your next attack will apply Grievous. Great. However, at 5 stars, you can activate Grievous on a dodge attack, just like you can do with Tsubasa. So when you dodge and press left click to attack, if that dodge attack hits a target, they have the Grievous debuff applied to them for 7 seconds. So that's going to increase the damage they take by, I think, roughly 20%. And then that sort of gives you that damage buff that you still get with Tsubasa. So this is a great alternative. And these ones you get basically by following the story. Ine is actually a pull. So you should get lucky enough to get her early on, but hey, who knows? My luck's terrible. So, but Bai Ling you get at the Mega Arena, and that comes by default. So anyway, you should have these two, and these, in my opinion, are the best alternatives. Now, you could also toss Pepper in here, right? Don't sleep on Pepper. She's a great side healer. So if you don't have Coco, if you don't have Nemesis, and you want to have a healer, and you don't have any other healing SSRs, Pepper is a great alternative for that. She provides some good AoE heals. She provides Volt, so you can kind of go that route if you want to, but she does provide some good healing. So let's talk about alternatives. So if you don't have Nemesis, you can go Coco. She's going to provide heals. If you don't have Nemesis, but you want to have some extra damage, you could go Samir or Crow. Either one of those is going to be high Volt damage, and they're going to be able to just melt stuff. So good alternatives to her. If you don't want Meryl, you could go Shiro. She's going to provide some good support and shatter. Now, I would say King, but the problem with King is he does provide a ton of shatter. You do have to chain all of his attacks together to really see that shatter. But where Shiro edges him out is her Grievous debuff. That's going to help the party more. And especially as you get deeper into the game and you need to kind of push through content that's a little bit more difficult, that support debuff is going to be much, much more valuable than just pure shatter. And then alternatives to Tsubasa, again, we have Shiro for the Grievous debuff. That's going to be kind of a pseudo effect that Tsubasa brings. And then for the SR alternative, you have Bai Ling. So everyone, those are the preferred comps that we have for Frigg. I really hope this video was helpful. Best of luck to you guys pulling her. Hopefully for all of you who want a Frost team, get her very early on. That way you can start building around her. Again, thank you everybody for watching. If you like Tower Fantasy content, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me more than you guys could possibly imagine. So anyway, as always, this has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.